So guys, we have all done it, right? We've all made mistakes with money and we've all made mistakes with debt. So this video is not to point the finger or to lay any blame. This video is just to say, hey, specifically, what do you do next when you find yourself deep in debt and you're just unsure where to begin? You don't know where to start or what to do. Now, I want you to start by first taking a really deep breath to calm yourself down. And so you can get up enough courage to actually take some action. And then I want you to think about doing the following 8 steps. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're deep in debt and you're unsure where to start is you have to assess your current debt situation, right? You got to know your total financial picture right now. And a big piece of that is, what is this debt? You got to face the music. Face the big elephant in the room, the thing that you've been afraid to face and been sweeping under the rug. You got to face it. So how do you do that? The first thing you got to do is you have to list all of your debts. Write them all down. Get out a piece of notebook paper, put it on a spreadsheet, however you want to do it, and you got to list each one of them. You got to list what the debt is, who is the creditor, and the amount that you owe, and the interest that you're paying on that current debt. And then you also got to write down, what are you paying every single month for this debt that you owe? And at the same time, you need to evaluate what are your income and expenses on a monthly basis. So that means you got to create a detailed written budget that accounts for and tracks all of your monthly spending. How are you spending your money? Right? You got to start to get organized and put all this stuff on paper so you can assess it first. This is going to show you where your money is going, and it's going to show you what things you can maybe begin to cut out as you begin to look more seriously at attacking the debt. Now, speaking of attacking the debt, the second thing you got to think about is how you're going to attack the debt. What is the strategy going to look like? Now, I don't really care if you attack the high interest rate debt first or if you don't do that. And it doesn't really matter to me because I want you to attack the debt real strong. And so if you attack it real strong and real fast, it's not going to matter if you attack the big interest rate debt first. Now, you can if you want to. I always prefer people to list their debt, smallest debt, total debt amount, to the largest total debt amount, and pay off the smallest first so you can get a few wins out the way. You can feel accomplished quicker that way, right? And if you do that quickly and you pay off the debt quickly, the extra interest, the extra $100, $200 that you pay on interest is not going to matter a whole lot in the end. Now, when you list your debts smallest to largest, I'd like you to consider and put this debt in a debt snowball, where you take any extra money you have from your budget every month after you add up all your income and add up all your expenses, and there's some money left over. Take that leftover money and apply it to the debt snowball, where you start by paying the smallest debt, total debt amount first. And then you roll all that money up, pay the next one. Roll all that money up, pay the next one, right? That's the debt snowball. Now, the third thing you do after you've assessed your situation, you've done a budget, you started the debt snowball to try to attack the debt and pay it off. Then I want you to consider calling each of your creditors that you listed and see if they'll let you create some type of repayment plan, or even something where they'll settle for less. So maybe you have a $5,000 medical bill. Perhaps they'll allow you to pay $3,000. Now, if they do that and you find a creditor that's willing to settle with you on any one of your debts, then you're going to want to maybe adjust your debt snowball accordingly to accommodate that, if you can do it. And if you have a creditor that is willing to settle with you for less money, then you may end up perhaps consider using some type of extra cash cushion or a bonus that you may have to actually settle that debt at a lower amount. But the key is you want to see if you can negotiate with the creditors for a lower amount. And no, I would not do a debt consolidation 90% of the time. Now, there may be somebody out there that owes $300,000 at 25% interest, and you know it's going to be a few years before you can pay that one off. Then you may want to consider consolidating that with other debts into a lower interest rate. But for most people, I wouldn't recommend a debt consolidation because you're just moving money around, and if pay off the debt fast enough, then it doesn't matter. But again, if you've got a really high interest rate on a big old amount of debt that you know is going to take you a few years to pay off, then consolidation may be something you want to consider. Guys, if you're getting anything out of this video, do me a favor, please share this video with your friends, your family, and your network of people. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, the fourth thing you want to consider doing while you're trying to attack this debt and focused on the debt is maybe see how you can bring in some additional income. That is, ways to bring in more money so you can have more money to pile on to knock out this debt quicker. Now, that could mean a part-time job. It could mean monetizing something you do well or something you have a passion for. Freelancing, selling your skills, selling some unused items around your house that you don't use, right? Maybe get rid of that extra couch, get rid of that extra whatever so you can free up some money to put towards the debt. And maybe at your current job, if you're in good standing with your job, maybe you can ask for a raise. Or maybe you can put your resume together and go out and seek some other employment that's going to pay you more so you can have more money to go towards this debt. What I'm trying to do here is give you options and understand that just because you're drowning in debt and you have so much debt you don't know what to do, it doesn't mean that it's a hopeless situation. What it means is you have to be a little more creative and you have to come up with ways and things that you may have not thought about before. Now, the fifth thing you may want to do is cut expenses. Early on, I said you got to do a budget to figure out your income and expenses. If you would just lower your expenses, figure out ways to cut expenses, you'll have a little more money to go towards paying off the debt. So maybe that means just cutting back on some of the things that are not essential for a year or 2 years or 3 years, however long it takes to really pay this debt off. And then you may want to, add coupons to your regimen, buy in bulk so you can free up. Any little money helps. Any little extra thing you can do to actually fix this situation with all this debt is going to help you out. And then number 6 is, maybe you need to seek some type of financial counseling or some type of professional help to give you different types of ideas to look into how you can get rid of some of this debt that is overwhelming you, right? Some counseling, some mentoring, some coaching, or maybe even just some guidance on your personal financial situation. Because, personal finance is personal. Everybody's situation is different. And your situation may not be solved, or you may not have heard anybody talk about your situation on a YouTube video, right? Or a podcast. So maybe you have some specific things that you need to be looking at and thinking about. And some professional one-on-one advice or help may be just what you need. And also, when we're talking about seeking professional help, bankruptcy may be a last resort that you may need to consider. I'm not saying everybody needs bankruptcy. Again, each situation is different. But you may be in such a serious condition in terms of your debt that you may need it. Now, if you have $25,000 worth of debt, you probably don't need to be in bankruptcy. If you have $50,000 or $75,000 worth of debt, you may not need bankruptcy. You have to really consider your situation and your ability to pull yourself out of that situation. If you're thinking about that, then maybe you need to talk with or consult with a bankruptcy attorney who can provide all the information you need to know, plus they can answer all your questions and help you understand what the long-term implications of a bankruptcy could be. But I do want you to think about this. Where you are with your money right now, your debt right now, is a result of your behaviors with money for most people. It's a result of what you've done with money. So as you take all these measures into consideration, you also want to make sure that your behavior with money changes. You want to make sure that how you handle money moving forward, whether it's you working on getting out of debt with a debt snowball, or whether it's you filing for bankruptcy, whatever it could be, you've got to make sure that from here on out, the way you manage and handle your money changes. Because if it doesn't change, you're just going to go right back in debt, which leads to number 7. Number 7 is you have to avoid any future debt, primarily on things that's going down in value. Now, if you want to get debt on a house or something that's increasing in value, I'm good with that. But you've got to get to the point where you say to yourself, you know what? No more. I'm done. It's over. I'm not going to do what I did before. I am going to avoid any future debt on things going down in value. Now, one of the ways you can make sure you avoid future debt is you can build up an emergency fund so that you have money in case something goes wrong, and you don't have to run down to the local payday loan place to get a loan at 25% interest, right? You can avoid all that. Stay away from that if you simply have an emergency fund. And you may want to consider stop using your credit cards. Credit cards, every time you swipe a credit card, it's a temporary loan, right? And it's a promise that you're going to pay that money back at a future date. But if you get away from that, you don't want to have the same behaviors that led you to where you are right now with debt. So I would say consider stop using your credit cards and just vow to not take on any more debt on anything going down in value, right? You got to change your mind about credit and about debt and about how you use money, because your behavior with money is what's going to lead to all of your outcomes with money. And if your outcomes aren't what you want, it's because of how you behaved previously with your money. So no more future bad debt. Now, the final thing, number 8, is simply to stay organized and stay motivated. Set yourself some goals, right? Goals regarding your debt. How much you want to have paid off by what specific time, right? So your goals have to be specific. And then you want to have action steps that you're taking underneath each goal. And then, of course, track your progress and see how you're coming along on a regular basis. Maybe every time you do your budget once a month, or check your budget twice a month, so you can see how you're doing with paying off your debt. And stay informed. Continue to get information, continue to learn, continue to read, continue to listen to the YouTube channels, continue to listen to the podcast, all the things that you're going to need to help you stay motivated, help you stay encouraged, right? So that you're growing and you're learning during this whole process. Hey guys, when you find yourself deep in debt and unsure where to begin, taking these steps that I've outlined here can help you regain control over your money, control over your personal finances, and feel better about your future. And at the same time that you're doing all that, you're taking some action. So this is how you can begin your debt-free journey. It's important to remain patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up, and be persistent and consistent the whole time, because getting out of debt is a process that takes time and takes discipline. And it also takes you avoiding all of these middle-class money traps that are set up as little speed bumps in your way to try and make you stay in debt forever. On this video right here, I explain these 9 middle-class money traps that you gotta watch out for and avoid while you're trying to work on getting out of debt. You can check out that video here next. Peace.